Hi everyone, welcome to Love and Life's Journey. I'm Chantel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I am part of a collaboration with 3 other amazing creative YouTubers, and this is a DIY Christmas farmhouse decor collaboration. And so we are going to be bringing to you lots of farmhouse Christmas decor DIY projects. So I am partnering up with Heidi Sombel from Happily Thriving Heidi, Christy from Has Fam, and Kirsty from Kirsty Morris. And I will put the links to their channels in the description box below, as well as a link to the playlist so you can check out all of these videos and all of the projects that they have for you. And if you're coming over from one of their channels, I would love it if you would consider subscribing and sticking around a while for lots more DIY projects. So I'm really excited to bring to you 3 projects today that are all really easy. All of them cost about $5 or so to make, and they are just some really cute farmhouse Christmas decor, incorporating some of that really popular buffalo check print and also a red truck. So let's not wait any longer. Let's jump in and get started.
The first project is this buffalo check wall decor piece. For this project, I will be using an 8-inch embroidery hoop, and you can get these for less than $2 at most craft stores and even, I think, at Walmart. I will also be using a buffalo check scarf from Dollar Tree, as well as this metal joy from this package of 3 galvanized metal words. I got this at Dollar Tree, and this package contains the words peace, joy, and believe. I'll also be using one of these floral picks from Dollar Tree. First, I'm going to take apart my embroidery hoop, and then I will take the buffalo check scarf and trim off the fringe off of one end. Then I'm going to lay my fabric over the part of the hoop that does not have the little metal screw, and then I'm going to place the part of the hoop that does have that screw on top and pull the fabric tight and then tighten the screw. Once I have the fabric tight, I'll just turn this over and trim off the excess fabric, and then I will trim close to the embroidery hoop all the way around so that you can't see any of the excess fabric. Next, I'm going to take the joy galvanized word and place that in the hoop, and I am putting it down just a little bit from center so that when I put the greenery on the top of the hoop, it's not going to cover up the word. And when I have that in the place that I think it looks good, then I'm going to attach it to the fabric using some hot glue. Then I'm going to take my floral pick from Dollar Tree and just snip off some of the parts that I want to use. So I'm using the greenery and one of the flowers and some of the berries, and then I'm going to arrange them on the top of the embroidery hoop. Whenever I do florals, I like to lay them out first before I glue anything down and kind of get an idea of how I'm going to do it, and then I'll glue them down once I like the way I have it arranged. This next step was kind of an afterthought. I had this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I decided it was the perfect width to go around the edge of the embroidery hoop. And I decided to leave the embroidery hoop just the natural color. I liked that. I thought it lended itself well to the farmhouse look, but I did like the way this burlap ribbon looked around the outside of it, so I decided to go ahead and add that. And that's totally an optional step. And I was going to just use some jute twine for the hanger for this, but since I used this burlap ribbon, I decided to use this for the hanger as well. So I'm going to use about a 6 or 7 inch piece of this and then just loop it through that screw in the embroidery hoop and hot glue it at the top. Once the glue on that is dry, I'm going to turn that around and pull the ends that I glued together down so that they're against the embroidery hoop and glue those down so that the part that shows on the hanger is nice and neat. And that's all there is to it. This is a really simple project, but I think it turned out really well. Next, I'm going to show you how to make a set of these farmhouse inspired snowflakes, and then I'm going to give you several different ideas of what you can use them for. For this, I am using these snowflake ornaments from Dollar Tree. There are 10 snowflakes in one package, so just $1 for 10 of these. I'll also be using some jute twine. You can pick this up at Dollar Tree, any craft store, or even at Walmart. I'll also be using some ivory chalk paint by Waverly, and I picked this up at Walmart. I think it was about $5 for this large bottle that will go a long way. I'll be using some of this berry garland from Dollar Tree, and actually I had a piece left over from my Christmas tree that I made out of the safety cone. I'll link that video in the card above and the description box below so you can check that out. And the tools I'll be using are my hot glue gun, Gorilla Glue sticks, a paintbrush, and some wire cutters. The first step is to paint all of these snowflakes. Now, this would have been so much faster if I had used spray paint, but I didn't have any spray paint and I did have the chalk paint, so I went ahead and used a paintbrush and the chalk paint to paint these, which took about the length of a Hallmark movie to paint all 10 of these front and back, but I have to say I kind of like the texture and how they turned out using the chalk paint. I think they look a little bit more farmhouse than they would have if I had used spray paint. But if you're wanting it to go more quickly, then I would recommend using some spray paint. While the paint is drying, I took my berry garland and I'm going to use basically 4 berries off of this, but if you try to cut them off really close to the berries, they'll just fall apart. So what I did was I wound it together so that I had 2 groups of 2 next to each other, and then I'm cutting in between the groups of berries. And so you'll see here I'm winding it together, and that just helps keep the berries on the stem. It doesn't fall apart, and it also gives a good area to glue these to the snowflakes. And I'm going to make 10 of these, 1 for each snowflake. Next, I'm going to take the jute twine and I'm going to tie 10 little bows that are going to go in the center of each snowflake. These are nothing fancy, just a simple little bow. Then I'm going to glue one of the berry pieces that I made in the center of the snowflake, and then I will add the bow on top of that. One thing to note here is when you are placing these, you want to put them so that the bow is right side up from the hanger that is on the snowflake. And I'm actually going to take the hanger that came on the snowflakes off, but I left it on as a reference point just so that I would know which way I wanted to put the bows on the snowflakes. Aren't these just so cute and farmhouse looking? I love how these turned out, and you can make a whole set of these snowflakes, 10 of them for just a couple of dollars. So I removed the hanger that came on the snowflakes, and if you wanted to use these as ornaments, then you can replace that with a jute twine hanger, and that goes with the farmhouse look, and you can use these just as ornaments on a tree. Some other ways you could use these is add them to some pine garland to put maybe on a mantle, or glue them to the front of a jar or a vase for beautiful candle holders. And on these, I just wrapped some jute twine around the tops of the jars just to tie it all together. Last project is this Farmhouse Red Truck Merry Christmas sign. For this I will be using 2 rectangular signs from Dollar Tree. Doesn't matter what design is on it because we're going to be using the back of these. I'll also be using one of these red truck signs from Dollar Tree. And if you can't find the red truck, you can use a variety of other things that they have at Dollar Tree in your sign as well. I'll be using one of the buffalo check fleece scarves, and actually I'm going to use the remainder of the one that I used in that first project in this video. And I'll be using one of these clip-on Christmas floral picks from Dollar Tree. For paint, I will be using the ivory chalk paint from Waverly again, and I'll be using a little bit of this truffle chalk paint, and you can use any brown colored paint. I'll also be using a little bit of E6000 and my hot glue gun. First, I'm going to remove the hangers from the signs, and then I'll also remove the stickers from the back of the signs because I'm going to be painting the signs and don't want those on there. If these are hard to get off, a trick that I always use is to use a heat gun or even a blow dryer, and you just heat that up and then those labels will peel right off. Next, I'm going to put my signs together with the holes facing each other down the center. I'm putting a little bit of E6000 on this and then a little bit of hot glue to help hold it together. And you have to work fast or the hot glue sets up really quickly, but just do the best you can to get it put together nice and evenly. Then I'm going to carefully flip the sign over, and this is not real sturdy at this point, but I'm going to add some wide craft sticks down the seam, And then I'm going to take some skinnier craft sticks and put them across on the top, bottom, and in the middle. And I'm just gluing these on with a little bit of E6000 and a little bit of hot glue. This is really going to make this a lot more sturdy. The E6000 will set up really well, but it takes time, so that's why I add a little bit of hot glue so that it will set up right away and I can continue working on my project. So I'm going to need to fill in those holes, and my wide craft sticks weren't quite wide enough, so I'm going to add a couple of craft sticks, one on each side of the wide sticks that are going down that center seam, and that's going to cover up the holes on the back side. And then I'll be able to use a little bit of wood filler on the front side and fill in those holes so that when I paint it, it will look nice and neat and you won't even know those holes were there. And that is my next step, to take some wood filler. You can get this in any hardware store or craft store. And I'm going to take a putty knife and just fill in those holes, just pushing it down into the holes. And then sometimes it's just easier to use my finger, so I'm going to do that and get it down in those holes really well. And I'm also going to use my finger and add a little bit down the seam just to fill in anywhere where there might be any gaps. And then I'm going to set it aside until the wood filler dries completely. Once the wood filler is dried, I'm just going to take some sandpaper or sanding block and sand this all down so it's nice and smooth. And then you'll want to wipe off any of the sanding dust to get this ready to paint. Then I'm going to paint the whole back of this sign using the ivory chalk paint. I only did one coat of the chalk paint and it was a little bit streaky, but I liked that look. It gave it more of a rustic look, and so I left that because it just looked really good for the farmhouse look. And so then I'm taking a ruler, and wherever there are little notches in the sign, I'm drawing a line straight down, and then I'm going to take my truffle colored chalk paint and a thin paintbrush, and I'm going to paint those lines to make it look like shiplap. One tip here is whenever you are painting thin lines, you want to water your paint down a little bit and then get the excess off your paintbrush and make sure it's not too watery and test it out. You should be able to draw a thin line very easily. If you don't have a steady hand or you just don't want to paint these lines, you could use a paint marker or even a Sharpie to draw the lines on. After my lines are painted and dry, I'm going to take a little bit fuller of a brush and make sure the brush is dry, get just a little bit of paint on it, and then take the excess paint off of the brush. Then I'm going to dry brush very lightly onto my piece, just giving it that little bit of a distressed look. Next, I'm going to take the remainder of that scarf I used in that first project, cut the fringe off of the other end, and then I'm going to fold it in half And so this will be folded in half the long way, and then I'll cut it in half so that I have two long skinny pieces. I'm going to be using this fabric for a frame around my sign. So I am just gathering the end of the fabric, putting a little glue on it to secure it, and then I'm going to secure that to the top corner of the sign. Then I'm going to gather it again at the other top corner of the sign, and I'm going to leave the fabric a little bit loose across the top of the sign. Then I'm just going to continue around the edge of my sign, gluing it at each corner, but I am going to pull the fabric a little bit tighter along the sides and the bottom of the sign, and not leaving it as loose as I did on the top. Now the one piece of fabric is not going to go all the way around the sign, and this is why I cut the scarf in half so that I would have enough fabric to go all the way around the sign. So I am piecing it on this one side here, and then I will just glue it off on each corner. Now I'm going to add my red truck sign to this, and because this is not flat on the back, it doesn't want to sit very well, and so I decided to add some of the tumbling tower blocks to the back of this, and this is just something that I already had on hand. I wouldn't recommend buying it if you don't have it already. You can use just some cardboard to build it up, or foam board, or a variety of things. So just use what you have and put some on the back of the truck part, not the tree because it's at a different height. So just put some on the back of the truck, and then that will help this sit evenly, and it will also pop the truck out and give it a little more dimension. Then I'm going to take that floral clip, I'm going to remove the bird off of this and save it to use in a different project, and I'm also going to pull the clip off of it, and then I am going to glue this to the center of the top portion, and I will gather the top fabric in the center right where I glue this on, and I think that just gives it kind of a swag look, and I really like how that looks. For the last step, I'm going to take a piece of jute twine and glue this to the back to make a hanger. Now, I know I'm probably going to get some flack from people because I didn't paint the back of this, or I didn't cover it with fabric. You can totally do that if you want to. I personally didn't want to put the time and the effort into it because it's not going to show. It's going to be up against the wall, and so I know that it looks kind of funky, but I'm fine with it, and so do it the way you want to do it. But this is how I put the hanger on the back, and then it's all set to go, and you can hang it up, or you can sit it on a shelf, or put it wherever you want. I just think it's so cute, and the red truck is so popular this year. I hope you enjoyed these 3 budget-friendly farmhouse Christmas decor projects. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel to grow. And if you've come over from one of the other ladies' channels, please consider subscribing and sticking around a while for a lot more DIY projects. And I will put the link to the playlist in the description box below so you can check out all of the other farmhouse Christmas decor DIY videos. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a blessed day.